Yo, guys, welcome back to another episode of Burrito Talk. It's been a while, right? It's been a while, but we're back. Dude, I don't know why, but I completely forgot about this podcast. I've been so focused on just content, YouTube videos. I was like, oh my God, I gotta do another episode of Burrito Talk. I'm gonna be more consistent with that. Gotta be more consistent with it. But so glad you're listening. Welcome to the show. This is your host, Burrito, the number one CDL Comp Cod content creator on all of YouTube. You can listen to this podcast on Spotify and Apple Music and Apple Podcasts. Holy cow, Apple Music? Dude, I'm all over the place already. But we're going to get into our minor tournament review, talking about all the teams participating in it, and then end off with predictions for the qualifiers. This weekend of qualifiers isn't really looking like anything super crazy except for like the Sunday, but we'll get into that later. So the winners of this minor tournament, Atlanta FaZe, as I predicted. I was actually planning on, like, last week on Tuesday to record a video of me saying Atlanta FaZe is gonna win and put like the date there and everything, and then upload it after they won. But I was like, nah, I'm just not gonna do that. Like, whatever. But on Thursday, I did predict, if they make it through Miami, then they're going to win the whole thing. Like, they're gonna beat LA Thieves. I knew if they made it to LA Thieves, they're going to beat them. And do you want to know why I knew that? Is because I don't just watch when teams lose and win. I watch how they lost, how they won. And even though it was a small sample size and it was at the beginning, it was before the year even started, that TOURNEY told me everything I need to know. And Atlanta FaZe, both times they faced them, were in winnable positions to close the series, and then choked, and then end up getting like reverse swept or like trolled an S&D. And like the second time they played them on the TOURNEY, like, it was like a free round, trolled it, probably went up 2-0 and closed it on the control, or like the map 4, but they trolled that one too. And I just like knew, and I instantly saw these matches at the TOURNEY, and I was like, this matchup, this whole Black Ops 6 season is probably going to tilt towards Atlanta FaZe. On LAN and online, I feel like Atlanta FaZe is going to have LA Thieves' edge this season. I feel like it's going to be Atlanta FaZe having LA Thieves number, and then I was actually going to say OpTic was going to have LA Thieves number 2, but with the addition of Hook, questioning how different it would be. Like, I think like player for play, dude, I think LA Thieves might be like the third place team. Like, I haven't done predictions for what I think like the final standings will be, but I think FaZe is going to finish the season in first. I think OpTic's going to finish in second, and I think LA Thieves is going to finish in third. That sounds crazy, but I think that's the way it's going to go. I think LA Thieves is going to have a disappointing year, and they're going to probably going to make changes at the end of this season. Unless they win champs, I don't know who's going to win champs. Like, I'll have a better idea after Major 3, after Major 4, like deeper into the season as we go. But I think standings wise, end of the season, and I don't think Carolina is going to be in the top 4. A lot of people are predicting that Carolina ends the season in the top 4, and I don't think that. I think Carolina actually gets 5th or 6th at best, and I want them to do well, but I don't think they're going to be in the top 4. I honestly actually think Ultra or Cloud9 is going to end up in like the top 4. I really do believe. And depending on where Cloud9 and Ultra are, like, I think as the season goes on, we're going to see all the teams falling where I think they should be. I can't really predict like 6th to 12th, but 1 to 5 or 1 to 6, it's going to have like the top 3, obviously. And then I think I'm not even going to put Røkkr in there, even though Røkkr on a run, but we're going to get into that. But I'll just start with the first game before I keep on yapping. Minnesota Røkkr versus LAG. Minnesota Røkkr wins this 3-2. I mean, there's quite a bit to talk about here. First off, I'm gonna start by saying the way Minnesota Røkkr. So this is gonna be like a compliment and an insult sandwich. It's gonna be a tiny bit of both. Um, Røkkr, the way they win these games is not sustainable. It's not sustainable at all. But credit to them that they're able to do it. That they're able to find like the chutzpah, like the grit to actually come back in these series when they're down. But I also think the reason why it's so easy for them to come back in these games is because there's not a lot of pressure on them. Like you notice, like when top teams are down 0-2 or they get come back on, they get really flustered, start tweaking, maybe start making mistakes. There's really like no expectation on this Røkkr team. So I can only imagine it must be, because that actually is the thing. Like this is such a small example, but let's say, for example, me in like a GB match. Like back then I remember being in like a GBS and tourney. I'll be playing this newbie kid in like the first round. I'm thinking I already have this in the bag. Next thing I know, I'm taking it too lightly. Next thing I know, the guy's up 3-0. And then I start tweaking. I try to come back. Next thing you know, like he's playing like prime scump. And I'm just like shit in the bed, Like it's a lot harder to... It's a lot harder... It really is like a mental thing. It's a lot harder to regain when you're like the better team. But if you're like the lower team, there's no pressure on you. You can kind of play freely, play however you want. And LAG go up 2-0 in this series, get 3-0 on control. I broke down the first defense LAG had on the control and how winnable it was, and how Priestahh sat underground P4 for like the final 35 seconds while his team was getting spawn trapped on defense. Did move a muscle. He could have easily went to their spawn once they got 2 down, flanked their top rope, had position. They probably would have won the round, but this guy literally didn't move. If you have not seen that video, go see it on my members only. Absolutely unbelievable. I'm probably going to put into like a YouTube short as well, but they lost that defense. So I'm thinking if they won that defense, Røkkr wins the next defense, LAG wins defense, they trade defenses, anything could happen in overtime. So that's like mistake number 1. And then in the map 4 protocol, the map got replayed, but LAG actually could have won it before the match ended due to like the scanner repair. They were up like 160 to 100 going into P4 or like some along those lines. And they had a 3-man setup on P4 with like 10 seconds going into P3, and nobody's watching big door. There's like 2 guys over on the rope side because the guy dropped down the rope and Skies felt like he had to help him on the rope. So he turned, gave up big door. Priestahh's not even watching it because he's watching Spiral, but then he like turns back and he's not watching a thing. So they just walk right in the big door and they 2-piece the guys over by rope. Priestahh's last guy left. They lose complete rotation. That would have put him up at least 200 to 110. And then going into the P1, they end up getting like 50 seconds between the next P1 and P2, and then the game ended on P3. So they probably would have won that game before like the restart even happened. So just trolling that P4, completely unacceptable, especially on the P3 to P4 rotation on protocol. Most people do go through the big door. Obviously, Spiral is like right beside P3, but most people off spawn closer to the outside, so they just go down through big door side. And we see most teams watch it. I watch Atlanta FaZe watch it when they're playing Ravens. Work great success. You have the guy on like the ropes side of like the bottom P4 watching like the spiral cross, but he's close enough to turn and help you big door if you need it. LAG trolled that, and then by the time it got to map number 5, Hacienda 6-2. I mean, Røkkr's just like the way better S&D team. And in this game, specifically in Black Ops 6, S&D is gonna play. I mean, we already know the phrase S&D wins championships, coined by Nadeshot, but S&D is really going to bail people out this year. We're already seeing it with Ravens and Røkkr. I'm going to get into Ravens later. But being a good S&D team and being able to steal a control or maybe even a hard point, bro, you could get a lot of wins that maybe you wouldn't have gone before. But the S&Ds in this game are so big. S&Ds are dictating a lot of these games, especially when the better team is like dominating in respawn, and then the team sneaks like both S&Ds in a control. Like, S&D is very important, and I think a lot of teams are probably starting to recognize this and put a lot more effort into S&D strats and everything, as I feel like they should. I'm not sure if they actually do know how important S&D is in this game, but I know. Like, I don't know if they actually know, but I'm hoping that they do, and they're actually working on it. S&D is super, super big in this game. We will be doing a lot of S&D breakdowns during this Black Ops 6 season. But last thing I'm going to say about LAG is Priestahh gotta go. Priestahh gotta go. I know everyone has a bad series, all that stuff, all that good stuff. Going 58-80 against ROKKR in a 5-game series as an AR, 0.73 with the least damage in the lobby, 8,400, unacceptable. Even Skies, who's like arguably the slower AR, has 2,000 more damage than them and 18 more kills than them. I mean, just can't do that as a flex AR. Just cannot do it. And it's been like this for 5 years. I just feel like it's just time for him to go. Like I've already been at that point. I was even at that point in MW2. Everyone talks about, oh, they're the world champions. I am going to die on the hill that was all Hydra. I'm not saying all him, but if you take any other player that's not Hydra and put him in that team, they don't win MW2 champs at all. Any other player, BZ, Simp, any other player, they don't win champs. Hydra was the main catalyst to them winning champs. Like, all of them are world champions, but I think there's a big asterisk with Hydra in there. But I mean, they're all three of them are all world champions at the end of the day. But dude, not a -22. Even in the 250 to 228 Hacienda first map, he went 12-24. 12 kills as an AR in that map is crazy, especially when it's 250 to 228. That's like a full 13-minute game. In 13 minutes, you only get 12 kills, and your team had 250, and you had hill time, 101 of hill time. There's a lot of free kills like from hill time. I just like don't understand. And I think so. Like a lot of people, when they talk about Priestahh, talk about all the championships he's won. Like at one point, he's the most winningest player in like the CDL era. Bro, this all comes down to the teams he was on, and now I think he's finally getting exposed because he's not on a team that has the right pieces around him. Like, he's a good support role player because apparently he just can't be a slayer anymore. I don't know why. I always thought he was a slayer, but I guess he's not. I always thought he had the talent to be a slayer, but I guess he doesn't want to be a fast slayer. He adapted this slow AR role, and I don't know why it like stuck to him, and he's not changing it because it has not been working. Even in Cold War when they won, like, I wouldn't even say he was an important piece to that team. Like, every time he's won in whatever game, I felt like he could be replaced with anybody else, and that team would have gotten the exact same result. That's how I feel. Even in MW2, when they won champs, put anyone else in Priestah's spot, probably would have won. But I don't know. Maybe that sounds like me being a hater, but this guy just has not been doing it for me. Like, even I thought he had such a high ceiling coming into the MW 2019 season with MC, a BZ, Simp, Major Maniac, like all like the crack kids like from the S&D scene on the same team. I thought he was like, he has had a great career. He's got a lot of wins, but personal wise, statistically wise, he has not stood out on any team. I don't think any team's calling him the superstar or an important piece of the team. He's just like a player on these teams that so happens to win. And a lot of people, when they talk about who's going to replace him, Cobra, I mean, my honest opinion on Cobra, maybe I just haven't watched enough of him, but from what I have watched, I just don't feel like he does it for me. Like, I feel from the gameplay I watched, which in total was probably like 4 or 5 maps, or I mean, if we're excluding EWC in Black Ops 6, watch like 4 or 5 maps. My personal opinion, maybe I just watched the wrong maps. Maybe I have to do a deeper dive. I probably do, but there's so much stuff to cover. So, I mean, I'm doing my best. From the maps I've seen, he just feels like a very selfish player who's not really playing for the win as much as he should. That's just what I gauged from what I watched in EU Challengers, like spectating his arrow on the map and all that stuff. I could be completely wrong. I'll probably have to do a deeper dive on it, but I don't think he's the answer to their slaying problems. He could probably kill whore because I know he can be a kill whore. I know he could be a kill whore, but in terms of trying to win the game and insert yourself and be, I don't know. I mean, I like him being also like from France helps him a lot too, but I also think I think Spart's like the number one flex in challengers for any team to pick up, and he would insert right in Priesth's spot, make their S&D way better. He could also get a lot of kills in respawn, so their respawn and their S&D all gets better. I think Spart would be great for this LEG team. He's already been on the org before, but now it's a better version of the org with actual support. He's a good player. He's got room to be the Slayer because he's got great support pieces in Kismet and Skies. I think Spart would be perfect in this team. I think Priestahh is the only one that's gotta go. Like, I think he's gotta go. I actually don't mind the other players on the team. I really do like Skies as a main AR. I really do, but I think he has like I was going to say he's kind of like Insight where he has to pick up the pace, but he actually is a lot faster than Insight. And Skies plays a lot faster, gets a lot more kills when he doesn't have a superstar, quote unquote, in the team. Like, he doesn't have Hydra in the team, so he's not completely taking a back seat, just blocking the spawns, allowing Hydra to go up and roam and do his thing. Because that's basically what Skies did. A lot of times if you watch MW3, Skies would just be sitting there, blocking a spawn or holding an objective, just knowing where Hydra was going, doing whatever he could to make Hydra's job easier. But now in like this team, he has a little bit more freedom to get more kills, and I think you had Spartan here, their S&D improves, their respawn improves. But I think Priestahh is the piece that's got to go. I think that's what everyone's saying. And like for Priestahh, like if he gets out of league this time, maybe some friendships may be able to get him back in, maybe on a team with like Attach, but I don't want to see an Attach and Priestahh AR duo anytime in the future. I don't know about you guys, but I think if he goes down to challengers, he's probably going to team like with the Major Maniac, and he's probably not going to make it back in the league. Like I think once he's out of the league this time, he's probably just going to be stuck out of the league, because I think other players, like there could be like room on like a bottom team, but he's not going to get back on a top team. Because if you can't perform in this team, because this isn't a bad team. Kismet, Lynn, Skies, it's not a bad team. There's a lot of freedom to be able to like get kills and put on good performances, but he just cannot do it. And I don't think it's anyone on the team's fault except his own. Like, I'm watching his gameplay. I don't think anyone is putting him in a position to where he can't play good. It's just him not playing good. And I don't know what it is. I would love to like interview some of these pros and like get down to like the issues. But I mean, I don't know. But yeah, we'll leave that series at that. I like talked about that for 20 minutes. Holy cow. I didn't think I'd talk about that for so long. I'll try to go a little bit faster on these other series. Up next, Miami Heretics, Atlanta FaZe. So all these are round 1 matches. So I guess for those of you on audio, I'll let you know when I go to the next round. But from round 1, Miami Heretics, Atlanta FaZe 3-1. I mean, a lot of people have already talked about it, but that 1v4 from Simp on the second map vault was honestly so important, because I think Miami was up 3-1 at that point, or like I think it was 3-1 or 2-1. Either way, they would have had a 2-round lead. Argue it could have went a bit different. Granted, Miami lost the next 2 rounds anyway, and they lost 6-3, so Atlanta FaZe probably still would have won it, but it was a momentum shifter. And everyone's talking about whose fault it is, and I know there's the unspoken rule in 1v4 clutches that it's always the second guy's fault, because it's not the first guy's fault, because number one, you don't know where he is, so he's kind of just like the first one that dies, but then the next person knows where that person is, so he knows whether he should chill or just like stay back, so him dying is usually the mistake. I think it's more the last guy's fault in this scenario. And I'm going to explain to you why I'm defending Real. Because if you haven't watched the clutch, Simp gets the first kill. Like, they had the bomb planted at B, so time's going. So they're, like, back useless. Simp gets the first kill in, like, the back Hummer truck back there. And Real's top useless, and he flies off the top rope carelessly, and Simp just shoots him out the air. The reason why I'm going to defend Real here is because I know the exact mindset Real was in, and I've been in it in Call of Duty, even in Apex. Like, you could be in like a 3v1 4v1, whatever, and you think it's already over. So you're thinking, I'm just going to go fly. I'm going to get this. Like, my teammates got it, like that type of stuff, not defending it. But I know, like, that mindset of, like, you already think you won because you have confidence in, like, your team, like, to finish it. So you're just trying to fly and just, like, you get the kill. But if you don't, you know your teammates are going to finish it. But then when your teammates don't finish it, all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh, like, what did I just do? And I know that's what Real was thinking. Can't really fault the third guy because he got naded and the truck blew up. But after Real dies, somebody should have just backed up to top art and had the other guy, like, stay on the head glitches. That way you have a power position and you got the close guy and you got the far guy and you have everything locked down. Simp has to push the close guy and the far guy could shoot him. Simp only has an SMG too, so the AR could go up top art. Virtually nothing Simp could do about it, but Simp nades the third guy off the truck. He gets a call from his teammate that the guy's underground, so he sprints underground. Then he turns around, and Metals is just in Narnia in the open. And I'm thinking, after the guy got naded, all Metals had to do, he could have ran back by the stairs or ran back to, like, the other truck and just watched the cross. Watched across the bomb and just played with time, played with them. Like, so simple. But then Simp turns from underground and Metals is just out in the open and dies. I was like, what the hell? Like, anyways. But that is what it is. I mean, like, they trolled that. But, and then map number 3, Atlanta FaZe, is probably, I would probably say, if I actually think about it, they're probably, like, the best vault control defense team, not the best overall team, because they have no idea how to win any offense. They have won, like, a handful, but nothing to write home about. Have to learn how to play their kills better. People got to start blowing up that truck on B control at the beginning of the round. Like, someone got to throw an 8 at that beginning round, because after you cap A, when it's, like, a lot deeper in the round and you're trying to go cap B and that truck's still there and they just nade you off, I mean, that, like, we have to start seeing a lot of teams just throw your nade at the beginning of the round. Like, no one cares about the breakoffs, whatever. Obviously, you're not trying to go 4 down at the beginning, but Atlanta FaZe pretty much locked down every defense. And when they were down on ticks at a point in, like, the vault control, they pulled off a flawless vault defense and didn't allow Miami to get any ticks, which secured their defense for OT, which they won. And then it went to protocol, hard point, and they 97-point club Miami, and that was all she wrote. Atlanta FaZe, a lot better at protocol hard point, which we'll get into a lot later when we get into the finals. And now we got OpTic Texas. I'm sorry, I'm going to take a drink of my water, and I'm not going to edit this out. Oh, that's fucking great. All right. OpTic Texas 3-0 the Vegas Falcons. I did a very deep breakdown video on my YouTube. Go watch it. It's available for everyone. It's not for members. To the public, a 50-minute vault hardpoint breakdown. But I'll give you, like, the overview, not of, like, the video, but just the overview of the map in general. Ended 250 to 244 OpTic. OpTic started the map down like 100-0. And I personally think that the way OpTic was thinking was, it's Vegas Falcons. They haven't won a single game. They just lost, like, their best player, and they lost another player, and they brought in 2 players from Challengers. So, like, we're gonna win this regardless. So they probably went to map number 1 a bit too confident, like, had, like, their feet kicked up, and then when they went down, they're kind of like, whoa, we gotta bring this back, like, oh my gosh. And then it ended up being, like, a close game, and OpTic were able to bring it back from a 100-point deficit and win the map. The one thing I can say for all my breakdown video on that map, Vegas Falcons did not get P4 control one time that whole game. There was 3 different rotations of P4. They didn't get one. OpTic got all 3, and you could say that was the catalyst to them winning. If Vegas Falcons gets 1 P4, the game is over. The game is over. Even the one at the very beginning, but you guys could watch the breakdown video. And then Vegas Falcons, a very good protocol S&D team, but as we see with all the other times they played it, they have an insane ability to choke that protocol S&D all the time. They always make it a close map with the people they're playing, but they always choke the protocol S&D, and they choked it again. OpTic ends up winning 6-4, and then it got to the vault, and I don't think Vegas Falcons knew what they were doing at all. Everyone on the team went negative. OpTic was just frying them, and they won 3-0, closed that one out. Um, Vegas Falcons, I mean, their teamwork on that map number 1, like, that might be a map people veto against them, because that looked like a map where they know exactly what's going on. But in terms of just everything else in general, I don't think they got the slaying power to keep up with these teams. But it's so funny because they're all individually talented, but when you put team against team, it's like they're just not good enough. But individually, they're all talented. But, I mean, just like they can't do anything against like the slaying power of OpTic, and all these other teams just can't do anything. And then Cloud9, 3-0's Vancouver Surge. I mean, what can we say about this Vancouver team? I'm not going to talk about Cloud9 yet. I'll talk about them a bit later. So Dante, even on a 3-0, I will say this about Dante. Even when they 3-0'd Vancouver Surge, door-dashed him, Dante still found a way, because he always finds a way, as of late, in Black Ops 6, to always go negative in a series. Just has to find a way. Only person on his team negative in the series, even though they 3-0'd them. I mean, he's just breaking all kinds of records. But yeah, I mean, Cloud9, it's just a skill diff, honestly. It's just a skill diff. They're both on the West Coast, so it's a pretty even match in terms of pings and everything. And Cloud9 is just like the better team, like talent-wise on paper. And this was just like a pure example of this. I mean, it was good. I want to see the map vetoes because... Okay, so Vancouver picked Red Card S&D, which is what I actually want them to pick because it's like their best map and it's like a good S&D map for them. But that was map number 5. They didn't even make it a map number 5. But then for S&D, Cloud9 banned Protocol, which I think is smart because I don't think they're that good at that map. And then Seattle Surge banned Hacienda, but I think Hacienda probably would have favored Vancouver Surge in this game because Cloud9 is just not good at that map in S&D. So I think even if Vancouver was not good at S&D on Hacienda, they should have taken that over Skyline because Skyline is a pretty lame map. And even if a team's not good at S&D on that map, they could still win that map. That map's pretty one-dimensional. Offenses, like, you honestly get to the A-bomb before them, so you could technically rush pawn every round. You could take underground routes. It's a pretty elementary map to play, but they played it. Cloud9 won 6-5. Vancouver actually trolled a lot of rounds where they should have won that game, and if they won and they took it to Skyline, probably still would have lost like the Skyline hardpoint, to be honest, to Cloud9. Cloud9's a pretty good Skyline hardpoint team. So I just don't think there was any hope Vancouver wins this. I mean, if we're talking about Vancouver, the players on their team, I have Hixie in my fantasy league, and I just like person-wise, I just like the players. I like the players. Like, I like Hixie and I like Nasty. I want them to do so well, but they just cannot be on the same team. They are great pieces to make good teams that can win championships, but they cannot be on the same team because the slang power with those two just gets completely diminished. I thought I was going to be completely wrong because I saw them in the preseason before the season even started. Like, them and S&D tourneys and scrims, they were looking good. Like, Casey was looking good, but now it's like they just can't get kills. They're just not good at all. They need slaying power. They need slaying power bad. And I don't even think Illy's like the answer, because I don't think Illy brings like super slaying power. All Illy brings is like just being a good teammate. He brings good S&D, obviously, but I don't think Illy's like a super slayer in hardpoint. Everyone's talking about Illy. Like, they need someone who can get kills. Like, what AR out there could like replace Nasty and get kills? Like, god damn it. Like, should we bring Arcides back? Like, I'm trying to think. Like, should I open my fantasy and just like see the players available here? Like, let me see the players available. I'm gonna see the players available draft. Let's see, free agency. If we look at some ARs, like, what are some ARs? I think Afro could do good in this team, but like, would they pay the visa for him? I'm not sure. I think Capsule could be good in this team. Like, they need an SMG that could get kills. Brack, I'm not very high on Brack. Like, Brack's a good player, but I mean, could be a little bit selfish maybe. Like, they could get Standy in here. Exceed and Yuli are both SMGs. Dude, Diamond Con, like, he played really slow last year, so I'm not even sure about that. Like, I always thought he was like a way faster flex. Like in Cold War, Diamond Con was like a slayer. Like he was a shooter. But and then in MW3, he's just like a way slower player. And also, I think another SMG that's going to be on the market maybe after Major 1 is Neptune. He's looking very good in this game. But in terms of ARs, I think there's a shortage on good ARs. Like, there really is. Like, Dylan Rex, like, I'm not really convinced. But, like, maybe give some of these people a chance. I don't know, but I don't think so. Like, Phantoms, I don't even know. Like, I actually don't know at all. Like, I actually have no idea. I don't know. They need a better flex. They need a better flex. Hixie and 04 as like the SMGs. Even at the beginning of the season, I talked about it. I was just like, I'm just not convinced. Like, the thing about like a BZ and Simp is like they're both S tier SMGs on their best day. If one plays bad and the other plays good, it's like you always have one to perform. That's how high of a ceiling they are. But just Vancouver in general, like their ceiling of just slaying is not really that high. And I'm not sure how much Rambo has in like the decision making of putting together the roster, but bro, he has not put together some good rosters over the year. They had Hook, they had Brezzy. I'm thinking they have the same team as last year. They're a way better team than they are now. You have Hook on this team. Like, that answers your SMG problem. 04 and Hook together, SMGs on Respawn and an S&D makes this team a way better S&D team. They probably win a lot more S&Ds. Their Respawn probably gets better because Hook could roam. 04 is a great SMG who could also slot in like the gaps as well. So, I mean, they would be way better with the roster they had last year, but for some reason they dropped them and decided Hixie and Nasty were better. I don't know why. They could have upgraded a Brezzy even, but Brezzy actually, I was very wrong about him. In MW3 and everything, like saying like he can't get kills, and maybe like against like the top teams he just won't perform, but I think he proved me wrong. Like, I will admit I was completely wrong about Brezzy. I think Brezzy's actually a very good, serviceable flex AR. I think they would have been way better. Would have been like the French connection again on the ARs for another year. Like, they should have just ran it back with their old team and they would have been way better. Because now Hook's on OpTic, like now it's like a way different story. Like, who OpTic probably would have got if Hook was not there, if Hook was contracted on this team, bro. Like, who would they have gotten? Like, Capsule? Like, who would they have gotten? That would have been interesting to know. That would have been so interesting to know who they would have gone. Like, after they got... If Hook was on this Vancouver team, who would OpTic have gone as an SMG duo for Shotzi? Like, unless they probably would have tried to buy someone out their contract. They probably would have tried to buy Hook, honestly. They probably would have tried to buy him. Because I don't think they would... I don't think OpTic would ever get like a Neptune or like an Eric Boom again. Like I don't think they would get any player like that again. Like, they would probably get like someone more up there. But I mean, yeah. But Vancouver needs a roster change. I feel like I feel so bad because Hixie and Nasty are both in the EU. If they go back to the EU this time, they're probably not going to get back in the league again unless there's like some EU connections over on LAG or like something like that. I really, really, really want them to do well, but it's just not looking good. Just not looking good right now. They need to pick up the slang. I think Hixie probably has to be a bit more selfish and be like, hey guys, hold my beer. I need to be a standout SMG. I need to prove everyone wrong. Because I remember Hixie made a tweet. Like, this was during like the MW3 season, because if you didn't know, going into like the MW3 season, when they dropped him and picked up Envoy, everyone was talking about pack a punch, they're pack a punching. Like, now they have Envoy, and Hixie came out with like a tweet saying like the phrase pack a punch is going to, I don't know, I forgot the exact tweet, but the phrase pack a punch is going to be in my nightmares forever. I want to see if I can actually find the tweet, because if I can actually pull that up. Okay, never mind it. It's too far. I actually forgot how far it was. But yeah, he was saying that the phrase pack a punch is going to live rent free in his head, or like whatever he said. But now he's not proving people right, because he is currently, if we go in the player statistics, I know he's like near like the bottom of like I know he's near the bottom. So out of everybody that's been in the league, so out of 51 players, he's ranked 45th in overall KD. 0.87, which is just not good, just not going to cut it. So definitely the slang on that team needs to pick up. And there is one small thing, because the MW3 team of Vancouver Surge last year, they made up by their lack of slay power by being a very good, solid teamwork team. But we're not seeing any of those. I don't know what the rush is, or I mean, I don't know what the delay is. I mean, that's something they probably should even figure it out at the beginning of the year. Like, we don't have that much slaying power. We need to really work on our teamwork and being very effective when we do have holds, using our work to break and everything. Like, that's something that they probably should have worked on a lot, and we probably should have been seeing the fruits of the labor in these games, but they're just getting bopped on every single map. Like, even Miami, for example. Miami does have a lot better shooters than Vancouver, but you see their red card and everything. Like, they look like a way better team. This Vancouver team needs to work on their S&D. They need to get guaranteed S&Ds. They have to be able to extend series to, like, map number 4s. You just need to take an S&D. Take an S&D or take a control. Be able to extend these series. Try to make it to, like, a map number 5. But going to map number 5 every time is not sustainable, but just work on everything in general. But gotta start from like the grassroots. Get the S&D down, get the controls down, work on your teamwork and hard point. Probably be like a way better team. But we will leave it at that with Vancouver. And now we're gonna go into like the next round, like the quarterfinals. Ultra against ROKKR. I mean, what can I say? So, I mean, I already talked about ROKKR. It's not sustainable getting these wins, but it's a kudos to them that they do get them, that they have the grit to make it. Ultra should have won this game 3-0. They were up 2-0, and then it was the final round of Vault Control. They were up 7-2 in lives. A lot of people were saying it's Insight's fault because he had a streak, and Insight said he didn't know he had a streak, which is crazy to me. But they're up 7-2 in lives. I thought like the real kicker was actually Beans, but I mean, hindsight's 2020. But Beans is top art. He gets a kill on the B point, and at that point it's 7-2 in lives, or it's 7-3 at that point. It's either 7-2 or 7-3, and he's 35 HP, and he flies out of art, and he goes sprinting towards like the bomb not the bomb, like the control point by himself. Did regen the health or whatever. He takes a wide swing because he's thinking the exact same thing that Real was thinking in that Miami Atlanta FaZe game. The round's already over. Like, we won this shit. But then he ends up getting picked, and then Geo gets a crazy, like, Geo took a crazy route off spawn. Like, not really like a crazy route, but he just made the play. He swung wide. He got Beans, got another one, aimed in close stairs, got the third. It was actually insane out of him. And I will say this about ROKKR. Another thing I'm going to say about ROKKR real quick is the players on the team individually are pretty good. I do feel Paul X needs to like step it up though. I want big things out of this guy. Like, I like this guy as a personality and just a player, and I really want him to do well. He's another one of those players I want to do very well. But he's not making it easy on me. He has to pick up the kills more. Granted, you have Geo there, but I mean, bro, you gotta do better. We're seeing how ARs are playing in this game. We see how Dashy's playing, how like a lot of the ARs are playing. Got to step it up. This is a game that's actually good for both SMGs and ARs. Like, it's not like a pretty one-sided game. Like, ARs could thrive in this game on all the maps. And something I want to say about Geo. Okay, so Geo's a very, very good skill-wise player, but I saw a snake, and I'm gonna put it in a YouTube short. So pay attention to my YouTube shorts. In the game against LAG, I saw a snake out of him. It was like the end of the control round. It was him and Estriel in a 2v1 against Priestahh, and he was snaking, and Priestahh died pretty fast, so like the snake, quote unquote, probably didn't matter. But I thought, me personally, I thought that was scummy shit, because it was an intentional snake, knowing the situation that you're in. Like, I can't die in this position I'm in. I'm kind of out of position here. I can't die, so I'm gonna abuse a mechanic to make sure I don't die. Like, that's what the snake was, and you'll see it when I put in my YouTube short. And the reason why people probably aren't talking about it is because like a 2-pump, because Estriel got the kill on him pretty quick, so the round ended. But it was an intentional snake, and I know it was an intentional snake because I had another YouTube short. If you go back and watch my YouTube short, it was like Geo on protocol as well against Scrap and Ghosty in like a rank game, and he was snaking his ass off, and Scrap roasted him for it. So he is a player who intentionally snakes and is a scummy player. I don't like players like that. Like, no matter how good you are, I hate that. I lose all respect because it's such a scummy thing, especially since now everyone in the league knows that snaking is like bad. So now if you do it, you're actually a scumbag. Like, you're actually a scumbag with no integrity, because you're doing it knowing that it's bad and probably thinking, oh yeah, I'll probably be able to get away with this. That's scummy shit. But that's just my opinion. I mean, like, the other players on the team, I mean, like, the SMGs are great, I feel like, at the moment. But they really, what Røkkr needs to do is really focus on their hard point. Their S&D is good. Their control is not super great, but like, they have the potential to win control, which is a great percentage to have, especially when you're a team in like the middle pack. So that's great for their control. I just think their hard point, like, I don't think they're good at hard point at all. I think all the hard point maps that they win are the other teams making some sort of mistake, and good for them to be able to capitalize on it. But people aren't going to make mistakes all the time in hardpoint. People are going to be playing flawless hardpoints, and we saw when they ran into Atlanta FaZe, which I guess we'll just like talk about that real quick. Actually, I guess I'll just skip ahead. I'm not going to go in order. So the semifinal match, because Røkkr was able to make it by Ultra. I guess I'm just going back and forth. Holy cow. I mean, the protocol, granted, it was 250 to 227, but I think Atlanta FaZe was in control of that the whole time. Same thing with the red card. It was 250 to 214. They were in control of that the whole time. This should have been a 3-0 FaZe. Actually, maybe like a 3-1, because I think like the vault, like, Røkkr was just way better. But FaZe just trolled like a defense. But Røkkr might be like the best offense team on that map. They might be the best offense team on vault control, to be honest. But there was a round in the Vault S&D where Draws has a 1v1 against Estriel. He's like up top pool behind a head glitch. There's like 12 seconds left. Brother, just lay the fuck down. Like, lay down and the round's over. But he chows. Estriel gets the kill. Draws' reaction is like, just like his fucking mouth's open. His teammates are like, no, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. But he knew how bad of a choke it was. Atlanta FaZe still win that anyway. But yeah, going back to this Ultra Røkkr game, I don't think Ultra did anything wrong. I mean, even on like the map 4 Hacienda. So after they had that devastating choke on the vault, which should have made it 3-0, spared us all a lot more time, saved us all like 50 minutes. The Hacienda, they had a pretty big lead. It was like 70 points, 80 points, maybe it was 70. I think it was around 70, 60 maybe. They had a big lead, and then scanner repair happens and the game ends, and then they play it again and Røkkr wins. I think that was a big enough lead that probably would have ended up them like closing out that map, because I've seen them play the map in scrims and they know how to hold, like, they play that map really well. They play that map pretty freaking well, and they had the lead against Røkkr, and I thought they were going to close that out. But the reset cheese happens again. Very serendipitous for Røkkr, and then they're able to win the Hacienda. S&D 6-3. I think a lot of teams have not been practicing Hacienda S&D. It's very clear to see the teams who have practiced that map are like the ROKKRs and the Ravens, who actually put time into their S&D. That's why S&D is so important. I think Hasi S&D is going to be a very important map. Hasi and Protocol seem to be the S&D maps getting played the most. Hacienda is going to be a game changer for like a lot of people, because they're like, if they veto Hasi, they're probably going to have to play Protocol. And if they veto Protocol, they're probably going to have to play Hasi. So they're going to have to play one of the S&D maps. So being good at those two maps, I feel, is going to go a long way for a lot of teams. Especially since, like, the other S&D map, Vault's not that great. We didn't see a red card S&D, but I'm sure we'll probably see it in qualifiers a lot more. But Ultra should have won that series, but kudos to Røkkr for honestly being able to close that out. I'm so sorry for my yawning. It's probably horrible audio, but I'm keeping it in there. And then we have LA Thieves, Atlanta FaZe. Atlanta FaZe wins 3-1. After I saw the first like two hills of the first map, Hardpoint on Protocol, I knew Atlanta FaZe like was going to win, because I was like, okay, they're actually like not trolling at all. They're actually playing really good. And I knew it was over by then. And I knew the Skyline S&D, LA Thieves won that map last time, but it was a complete choke from Atlanta FaZe. So I knew if they played that again, Atlanta FaZe was going to clean that up. So it's a free 2-0. And then the Protocol, Atlanta FaZe is up 2-0 in the Protocol. LA Thieves brings it back and wins 3-2. Choke out of Atlanta FaZe. They should have won that map. And then Skyline Hardpoint is not like, Atlanta FaZe has a deep Hardpoint pool. Like, the only map I feel like they need to like super touch up on is Røkkr. They did beat ROKKR on that map, but when they played Miami, they got throttled by Miami on that map, which is why I was curious why they left it in against Miami, because Miami is clearly like a top 2 team at Røkkr Hardpoint at the moment in the league. So playing that map against them, not a good idea. Against any other team, probably could have fared a lot better, but against Miami was not the right call. But even the Skyline, I felt they're just in control of their respawns all the time. This was a legacy series from aBeZy. 112 kills, 12k damage, most in the lobby. He was doing it all. He was making all the plays in respawn, in hardpoint. He was absolutely willing this team to victory. But overall, the thing I noticed about Atlanta FaZe's gameplay, which was not there before, which I was preaching why it was not there, is their teamwork. Their teamwork was so much better. Like, watching their teamwork in like the first 2-3 weeks of qualifiers, it looked like nobody on the team even wanted to play with each other. Like, it looked really bad. And it just goes to show you how far teamwork takes you. Even if you're 4 individually super talented players, if you're not playing as a team, in this game especially, because these maps are a lot more fluky, you're just not going to win. You need teamwork in this game specifically, more than any other game you've ever needed it in. Black Ops 6 is a game you need teamwork to win. And Atlanta FaZe, excellent teamwork. I'm watching the way they're trading is so great. Like, just like the timings, like when people go in one direction, or I mean when people go in one area, the way that the person's around at an angle where if that person dies because they know where they are, they'll be able to pick up the trade. All that stuff was very, very masterful. I should probably make some examples of it and throw it into a YouTube video, because it's probably just a lot of small trades. People probably think I mean like trade, like, oh, he gets a kill, guys right behind him, trade. But even just the what the heck's the word? Like they use it in soccer. It's like zonal. Okay, so they're zonal trading. I'm quoting a new thing. Their zonal trading is so great. Like, just like the areas and the angles that they're in when they know their teammates are in other areas, being able to get those trades, masterful. Everything they do, even hopping on hills, the way a person's always watching over each other, always felt like teamwork was being established on the map, which goes a long way. Their protocol, they clean up their P4 holds on that map. Their P1s on protocol look virtually unstoppable, and all it is Chris on the hill, a BZ pushed up mid, draws up in a house, MC's like underground, like on like that flank. He's literally just watching the flank underground. So they basically have 3 guys up top, and they hold it like basically the whole time. I mean, and it looked like, so like there was the thing with LA Thieves that everyone was talking about. Like even like Nation was talking about it. Hydra had to go back to France because he had like a issue with like his visa. Had to go speak to like the consulate, so they were behind like a week or 2 in scrims, and that actually showed because it looked like they were like far behind. Like it looked like they didn't really know what they're doing, which is kind of like confusing. But I mean, it looked like they were very behind. But even being behind a week or 2 on scrims, I actually expected a way better performance from LA Thieves. But I do know. Like, here's my prediction. I think I said this at the beginning of the podcast. I think Atlanta FaZe is going to have LA Thieves' overall number this whole season. LA Thieves may be able to win a game, but I think overall, like the head-to-head, Atlanta FaZe is going to have the number on LA Thieves. So right now, so far, not counting the case on tourney because it was an extra thing, just this season so far, Atlanta FaZe is up 1-0 on LA Thieves. I feel like this is actually the game where Atlanta FaZe is going to get a LAN win against Scrap finally. But yeah, LA Thieves look behind. I mean, we will see them pick it up. We're going to give them time because now all of them are back. So now there's no excuses, no holidays. I'm expecting LA Thieves to, I mean, pretty much against every other team that they face besides Atlanta FaZe and OpTic. I'm expecting more one-sided series in their favor. Maybe they may struggle against like an Ultra as well, maybe, but I don't even think so. I think they're gonna run all over them. I think their only 2 oppositions are Atlanta FaZe and OpTic this season, but we haven't seen them play OpTic yet. But I think Atlanta FaZe is gonna be their kryptonite this season, and yeah. So a lot of people talking about Envoy. Envoy seems to be a very streaky player. The last time we played Atlanta FaZe, he was like the star player making all the plays. This time just was not the case. And something I also want to credit Atlanta FaZe for is they're a very good team. Like, even with Shotzi, they finally figured it out. Like, something they haven't been able to do with Shotzi in the past is, like, his flanking, his pinching, being able to track him on the map, being able to nullify him. But now they're actually able to do that in a way. Like, sometimes Atlanta FaZe will even, like, push up and put pressure on the other 3, allow, like, Shotzi to, like, roam for a while and catch a great timing to just like sucker him in, and just like like the way they cancel out like the quote unquote flankers and the pinchers now is top notch, probably better than any other team besides maybe Ultra. I would say like they're very good at watching their pinch, getting out of situations where they're under pressure. It seems like this tourney, like they got way better at that. Like even when they went down to Røkkr in that series, 2-1, they still had full confidence that they were going to win, and they came back pretty like convincingly as well, like on like the map 4 and map 5. But even though Atlanta FaZe won this tourney, I'm kind of going ahead, but I mean I already talked about the beginning. They still got a lot of stuff to work on because there were some hiccups in the respawns and the S&Ds. There are still things to touch up on. I don't think it's a complete Atlanta FaZe is back. They're the best ever. Like, there's still things they got to work on. But for a team that still got to work on things, the way they handled this tournament in the pretty dominating fashion that they did, it's looking scary for the rest of the league, to be honest. And a lot of people wondering, why did I pick Atlanta FaZe over LA Thieves like a long time ago, just knowing? I just knew the matchup. It was just like the case on tourney. I just watched the case on tourney, and I just watched the way the teams played against each other. I just knew like just the matchup and just like the game that we're playing. That's like the best way I could possibly explain it, honestly. Then we go into OpTic, Boston, 3-2 OpTic. Boston, I actually feel trolled this game. Boston actually could have won 3-0. They won first map Hacienda, and they won the third map Protocol Control 3-0. The Hossie, they actually trolled some rounds there. They trolled even like the 5-5 they trolled, but I thought OpTic actually did a great job actually baiting them. I feel like the mistakes, so someone wanted to talk about Purge. Like, Purge has actually proved me wrong. I had very low expectations for him. He's proving himself to be a very good player. I think the one flaw about Purge's gameplay, which is also a benefit to his game as well, so it's a curse and also a pro as well, is his aggression. There's a lot of the times, or most of the time, his aggression gets him into great scenarios, gets great timings, gets big kills. But in the S&Ds, there's times where he just is just overly aggressive and doesn't know the perfect time to like just move up and like not move. And so many times, even though he went 10-7, like he had good S&Ds, but there were rounds where he would get overly aggressive, especially on the protocol, like on like the P2 side. I saw a lot of rounds where he'd get overly aggressive and get first blooded, and OpTic would win those rounds. So that's something he has to learn how to control. Like Shotzi's a very good player at using his aggression, his speed to get into spots, but then slow down. Like he knows his timings. I think Purge needs to master that more, and he could actually be a force. Like in terms of his S&D is great. His respawn, he's a great team player for like his respawn. So he's actually proving, he's proven to be a very good player. Like I feel like if anything, his control, maybe because like control is more of a kill based game mode, and he's not a complete like Slayer type player yet. But I mean, if that's like the one flaw. And then Snoopy is proving everyone wrong this season, playing way better, playing way smarter even. Like he's making a lot more good plays, but at the same time, it still shows how there's still like cracks in like the pressure and how they make certain plays in those pressurized situations. But that only gets better as time goes on. I'm sorry. And another thing I want to talk about, granted, it's only one series, but I think their ARs just in general need to like pick it up a bit more. We're seeing like the Purge and Snoopy duo. I think Purge plays off Snoopy very well because he could enable him a lot more, and Purge could also make plays himself. So that's a great balance. Because like the thing about Purge is like he's playing so good, but he doesn't feel the need to be the superstar. Like he allows Snoopy to be that player to like go off and go do what Shotzi and Hydra do. Like he's doing like that type of shit. And with the ARs, I mean, just in respawn in general, just like not consistent enough together. Like I think the common theme is most of the time like there's one doing good, one doing bad. I think they need to find, I mean, if anything, if they do make a change, it's gonna have to be for Cameo Awakening. I think the SMGs are proven to be very good, but I have faith in them to pick it up. It is Cameo and Awakening. Even though Cammy has made great plays against OpTic in like the last game, and I think Boston just plays OpTic very well. Like I think that's another matchup that we have to focus on. Even though OpTic has beaten them, actually OpTic beat them this time, Boston beat them last time. But it all came down to the S&Ds, and that's the difference between Hook and AG. It came down to the S&Ds, and OpTic won because they have Hook on the team as opposed to AG. So that's probably why, because I think last time Boston played them at red card and beat them pretty handedly, and now we're seeing how much closer the S&Ds are, especially with Hook on the team. They just play the S&Ds. They have a way different philosophy in S&D now, so that's great for OpTic. But yeah, it all comes down to the ARs. But once again, there's not really that many thriving ARs out there. The only name I can think of off the top of my head is RCDs. I think RCDs would slot great into this team. I don't think their S&D maybe. I don't think like their S&D actually gets better, but I mean, I actually think RCDs would do pretty good in this team. Actually, to be honest, like I think he would actually make the respawn better. I don't know about S&D though, but he's a pretty good S&D player, and he also brings a leadership in the AR role as well, which I think would actually benefit this team a lot more. So that could be something to look at. I don't think they're actually going to go for RCDs, but if they do keep being more inconsistent, like they are like a really good team. They're actually showing up pretty great, but even like their records, we can even go through like the records right now real quick. Their records and the modes aren't that great, but they're putting up a lot of close series. And they have 3 wins out of 5, which is pretty good. So they're 6-4 in hardpoint. They're 5-5 in S&D, and they're 2-3 in control. I think an AR like RCs could probably make those records a bit better. I mean, there's not really that many ARs out there. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want them to pick up like a Cobra or a Dylan Rex. I don't think that'll make the team any better. I think they should go for experience if they do. But, I mean, I have, like, now they have earned my goodwill where I think they could actually, like, improve. But if they hit a certain ceiling, which they feel like they can't go by, increasing an AR, not increasing, but pack a punching like the AR role in some way, I mean, I think would go with dividends for them. And then Carolina, Royal Ravens against Cloud9. Carolina wins 3-2. Cloud9 once again losing last map to Carolina. I think this is actually a good matchup for Cloud9. Like, I think even though Cloud9 has lost both times to Royal Ravens, I think Cloud9's like a team that has Royal Ravens' number, like just player to player. Like, Ravens has a way harder time against them in respawn, and Royal Ravens is a pretty good respawn team at the moment. But every time they play Cloud9, like, they just lose hard points. Like, except for Protocol, but they did no DeVito. I think Cloud9 actually banned that. Yeah, they did actually ban Protocol hardpoint. But making them play the other maps, I mean, if you take away Protocol, because I think Carolina against any other team that isn't like Atlanta FaZe or maybe OpTic or LA Thieves, I think Protocol hardpoint, they're probably going to win like 98% of the time against everybody else in the league. So I don't think any other team is going to play on that map except for like the top dogs. But yeah, playing these other maps, Cloud9 just has very good matchups against them. I think this was a Cloud9 troll. 6-5 in the S&D. They were up 3-0. The game restarted. Carolina fought their way back. Next thing you know, it's 5-3. There were so many trolley rounds that I'm actually going to break down the S&D sometime this week on YouTube, because it's unacceptable. You have to be able to close that stuff out. Like, that was a very winnable game, and it was a win that you needed, not only for like the team morale, but just confidence in general. Being able to beat Carolina, who is like 4-0 at the moment, this would have been big for Cloud9. And it would have took them to the finals, I believe. Actually, no, it would took them against OpTic, which actually would have been but they probably would have lost to OpTic. Cloud9 probably would have gotten thrashed by OpTic, to be honest. But that would have been a great win for Cloud9, to be honest. But they just trolled that. That's all I can say about that. And Dante, once again, I don't know what it is with Dante. He had the highest damage in the lobby, but for some reason he could not get kills. I don't know what it was. And I don't know what it is with him in this season so far. I'm not sure if at the beginning of the season, accuracy was like, bro, if you want to succeed, like, you have to play like me. And then he's like, what the heck? Wait, what? And then he's like, all right, fuck, I'll try. And now, like, he's actually playing like accuracy. No, okay, that was a terrible joke. Terrible joke. But if Dante steps it up, I feel like this team will be unstoppable. Like, unstoppable. I feel like he's like the X factor for this team, being a lot more consistent. Maybe not an S&D, but they're already a good S&D team. They just troll a lot. They troll a lot. Like, they have the pieces to be a good S&D team. Like, Attach is a very good S&D player. Cramp, a very good S&D player. I don't think the other players are helping at all. I think they have to, like, improve at S&D just in general. I think they need to play more team oriented and just do more team things on their S&Ds together. There's a lot of individual deaths that should not be happening. They have to learn how to play their numbers better. And just like their mid-round adjustments. So there's a round in like that S&D on vault. And granted, it was a 1v2, but it was just like map awareness. So it was a 1v2, or I mean, it was a 2v2. A Mac, I believe, is over at the B bomb. A Dante's on catwalk. going down the steps towards like the P2 side. He runs into a guy there. He dies. At that point, Mac over at the B bomb, and he had the bomb, should assume there was 2 guys over there on Dante and just plant the B bomb, and he could plant like facing the street. He could go art, he could go useless, he could win that round. The bomb's in the open, it would be tweaking, potentially an easy 1v2 clutch. He just camps like the whole round, goes back to A, plants A on a side where he can't even see it, runs back to mid where he can't even see it, and rotates around pools. I was like, this guy is lost. And just a lot of S&D plays like that I just thought were unacceptable. Like, they had the ability both times playing Carolina to close it out, and they just couldn't. So I will leave it at that. I'm not trying to talk too long. I'm already talking for hella long. I always think, like, whenever I'm doing these podcasts, I'm like, this is only going to be like half an hour. Next thing I know, like, an hour and a half has flown by. Like, I could talk, okay? I could actually talk. So I broke down the Røkkr Atlanta FaZe, and then the OpTic Texas Carolina. Carolina wins 3-2. And once again, it's just like another game. This seems to be like a common theme throughout like this tourney, where a team could have won 3-0, but I mean, they just couldn't. But OpTic should have won 3-1. I did the video for like the map 4, like the red card hardpoint, and how OpTic made multiple mistakes. Clearly, they have not figured out red card hardpoint, and I don't know how they allowed that map in there. So OpTic banned protocol hardpoint. Carolina picked Hacienda, Carolina banned Hacienda hardpoint, which is smart from them. OpTic picked Skyline, allowing Carolina to pick red card. I mean, I think OpTic probably should have not been focused on how good Carolina was at protocol, and took away their best and took away their worst hardpoint map instead. I feel like OpTic should have taken away red card and just had faith in their protocol. I haven't seen OpTic play protocol hardpoint in an actual game yet. I think they play with AG on the team. I don't think they play with Hook on the team yet. I don't think so. Or like they have maybe, and I don't know. But squaring up against a pretty good respawn team on your worst hardpoint map was not really the right play, but OpTic actually played that surprisingly well. But they made a lot of mistakes, and they lost 206 to 197. They lost by 9 points. 9 points. And they actually could have done... They could have won that game. They really could have won that game. And then they lost 6-4 protocol, which is another map I'm not sure if I should break down or not. But OpTic up like 4-0 or like 3-0 or like something like that. They're up like 3-4 rounds. And they allowed Carolina to come back in the game and win. So just a troll by OpTic. But you have to give kudos to Carolina coming back and winning. Hold on, I'm going to take another drink of water real quick. I did predict an OpTic Atlanta FaZe grand final, but I'm pretty content with Carolina getting this win, because Shotzi was talking very, very crazy on the timeline. And, you know, it's always nice for everyone to eat like a nice piece of humble pie, you know, every once in a while. But this is a very winnable game for OpTic. Like, they should have won this game. Like, I predicted them winning. A lot of people were saying, what the heck were people saying? People were saying, I mean, I kind of agree with people saying Carolina isn't as good as a team as maybe their statistics show. And I think I actually do think that as the season goes on, you're going to see Carolina's place in the standings slowly regress. They're going to get a lot more losses. I think they're going to replace Vivid maybe at some time in the season, because he's playing an unfamiliar role. I do see that happening. But yeah, a lot of people saying Carolina's a very good respawn team. I actually don't think Carolina's like super good at respawn. They're just good enough to get them by. Where they really get by in series is their S&D. Like, they have all the pieces. I even said when before the season started, with Gwyn, Slasher, TJ, and Vivid, they better have an S tier S&D, and they actually do have an S tier S&D. Like, let me see their S&D record. in this game. They are 7-3 in S&D. Okay, so it's not like crazy. I think Ultra still has the best record. They're 7-1, but a very good S&D record nonetheless. S&D has carried them in a lot of these series. I think they only won one hard point, and they made it all the way to the grand finals, which is crazy. They only won one hard point. Take that into account. One hard point, and they made it all the way to the grand finals off of one hard point win, and it happened to be against OpTic. Otherwise, they didn't win a hard point. Crazy. And they made it all the way to the finals. But their S&D carries them, but I mean, it's just like, it's an S&D team, so I mean, what do you expect? But very winnable series out of OpTic. I feel like if they play again, OpTic is definitely going to win that game. I don't think OpTic's going to let that happen again. But watch me say that, and then OpTic loses once again. And now we're going to close it out with Atlanta FaZe Carolina in the grand finals, which I thought should have been a best out of 7, but for some reason, a best out of 5. Okay, whatever. I think even in like MLG 2Ks and 5Ks, the grand finals were like a best of 7, but I guess not. I guess not in this. Something I really admired from Atlanta FaZe is no team wanted to play Carolina on protocol. Every team was hard vetoing protocol hardpoint. And Atlanta FaZe, even though they lost protocol hardpoint to Carolina last time, they knew they were better than them at the map, and they kept it in. Instead, they banned I don't know why they banned Vault hardpoint. Like, I thought they're pretty good at that map. I guess not. Instead, they banned that hard point. They kept protocol in, and they squared up on it, which I thought was almost like a statement map win out of them. Because after that, I mean, I immediately after that win, even though I know Carolina, especially with Slasher on the team, is not going to be a team that gets like FaZe super early, gets checked. They're going to stay in the game, especially with the S&Ds. But that was a statement map win. That was a message to the rest of the league showing Carolina's not as good at this map as you think they are. And if you actually play it right, you could smoke them. And they beat them pretty handily, 250 to 166. And that's exactly what I thought, because even when they played them on it the last time and Carolina beat them, I thought that was fake. Even when Shotzi was saying, like, the scrims of Carolina are fake, like, they're not as good as a team as everyone thinks they are. A lot of people called him a hater for that, especially since like, he lost to them, so it makes sense. But I actually don't think they are as good as everybody thinks they are, but they are a good team. Like, they are a good team, but they're not as good as everyone. I think everyone thinks top 3, top 4. They're playing like that right now, but overall, I don't think they are, or they're going to be as the season goes on. But these are 4 players: Gwyn, Slasher, TJ, Vivid. I love together, and I want to see do very well. And I know they're 4 players that could give each other constructive criticism, and no one on the team is going to take it personally, cry about it. Like, these are 4 players that could all like, hey man, you're playing like shit, and you know, no one's going to take it personally. I love that composition of players, and I love how they're all good S&D players, and they're going to do well in S&Ds. Granted, like, FaZe did take this Protocol S&D 6-5. Protocol S&D is a good map for like Atlanta FaZe as well. But I don't think Carolina is as good as a team as everybody thinks they are, but they are a good team that could beat pretty much everyone in the league. If you do make like mistakes, like, they can actually punish you for it. But their main I forgot the word for it, but their main way to win is if they get an S&D, and they didn't win the first S&D, so it's over by the time it got to Hacienda. FaZe beat them 250 to 124, and FaZe win the minor tournament as predicted. I mean, I'm actually gonna show you guys my predictions. Like, here's my bracket predictions. They were pretty off, because I mean, there's always upsets in these tourneys, but I actually had LAG beating Røkkr, so I was already wrong there. I had Atlanta FaZe beating Miami, and I had Atlanta FaZe beating LA Thieves, so I was right there. I had OpTic beating Vegas. I had OpTic beating Boston, and then I had Cloud9 beating Vancouver, and I had Cloud9 beating Carolina, and I had OpTic beating Cloud9, and I had Atlanta FaZe beating Ultra. all which could have happened, but they didn't. But I did have Atlanta FaZe getting the win. But overall, do you want to know what's interesting about this minor tournament? There was only one vault hardpoint played the whole entire weekend, which by the rules of how they are taking maps out and adding new maps in, that means that a vault would probably be the next to go, which would be pretty effing weird. I think that if a map's got to go, it has to be Protocol, like, in my opinion, or Skyline. They actually might take Skyline out of there, honestly, but either Skyline or Protocol has got to be the next map to go. But I wouldn't mind them just adding another map in and keeping the maps that they have, to be honest. I think it'll just add a lot more variety. Like, there was one series, I forgot who it was. I mean, like, we already went through all, like, the series. I don't even know how. I don't even remember. There was one series that actually had all 5 maps in. I think it was an OpTic series, honestly. I think it was OpTic against Boston, was it not? No, it wasn't. It's, like, never the OpTic series. I think it was the ROKKR series. Actually, might have been the ROKKR series. Is it ROKKR Atlanta FaZe? No. There was one series in here that had every single map. It was awesome. It actually may have been LA Thieves, Atlanta FaZe. Was that? I don't think so. Yeah, no. Literally, all of Atlanta FaZe's series always have, like, 3 of, like, the exact same map in it. I don't know why. Actually, may have been Cloud9 Royal Ravens now. I don't even know. But one of these series had all 5 maps. As I try to find it. But yeah, those are... That was minor 1. And honestly, my thoughts on the minor tournament is these delays are crazy. These Activision servers are crazy. I can't believe we're dealing with this in 2025. Even like the spectating, how like sometimes in Control doesn't show like the actual scoreboard. Unacceptable, completely lame. I could rant and rave about that stuff forever, but overall I thought the tourney was exactly the same as like a qualifier, except there was actually something on the line which did make it better. I feel like they gotta find a way to make it a bit more fast paced. Like, it should feel like a 2K 5K where a bunch of games are just happening at the same time, but they find certain games to like tune into. I think that would give it like the MLG 2K 5K feel, because they used to do that actually a lot, like back in the day. Like, there would be a bunch of games going on, but they would pick a game per round like to watch and actually spectate and podcast there. I'm sorry, my nose is itchy. It's really distracting me from freaking talking. Oh my gosh. Anyways, I'm so sorry if that was bad audio, because throughout this podcast, like, my nose is like itchy and I'm trying to get it at the same time while trying to talk. I'm like, it's so hard to be the only person talking, because if another person talks, I could actually like drink my water. I could actually do all this, but like, I'm the only one talking. I don't want to keep cutting it, so I'm just allowing this bad audio to keep playing, which is crazy. But I'm going to get my predictions for the Friday matches. So Friday, January 17th, the Major 1 qualifiers resume. And then for those of you who don't know, so I'll even pull up like the calendar right here for those on the video. So we have 2 more weeks of qualifiers, and then the tourney, January 30, Madrid, Spain. So the first match on Friday, LAG versus Cloud9. I am taking Cloud9. And then we have OpTic against Vegas Falcons again. I'm taking OpTic. And then we have Minnesota Røkkr versus Ultra in a rematch. Part of me actually just wants to throw like a curveball and pick Røkkr, but I think Ultra's going to get their revenge and they're going to get this win. So I think it's going to be a Cloud9 OpTic Ultra Friday. And we have 3 matches all weekend, which is actually a pretty good thing, because we have Call of Duty, but it's not going super long. So we got a 3-match Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which I think will be very nice, very easy, something digestible, something nice and light. I think during the week, when the qualifiers aren't going off, I might just do episodes of Burrito Talk just talking about other things. I'm just going to keep this one to just like the minor tournament and the qualifiers, but maybe I have to start doing more during the week, like just half an hour ones. I don't want all of them I don't want every Burrito Talk to be like an hour. Like even just half an hour things with hot topics that everyone's talking about, like snaking. Like I want to do a podcast on that, just the whole snaking, GA, all that stuff as well. Just some nice quick half an hour things throughout the week, like half an hour to like the 45, just to keep you guys on your toes. Have something to play while you guys are playing pubs or at work or school or like doing while you're like doing your stuff. I mean, whatever the case is, but I am your guy. The audio will get better because I swear I'm going to start cutting more. I'm going to start cutting more if I'm ever itchy or if my mouth gets dry. Because talking for this long, dude, like your mouth gets so dry, all of a sudden it gets hard to like speak. You're like slurring over your words. But yeah, even I'm starting to slur my words right now. But with that being said, guys, thank you guys for listening. Borito Talk on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. This has been your boy Borito. Keep it locked for more content. Subscribe on YouTube. You know the deal. This has been Borito. Bada boom, bada bye. We'll see you next time.